We're going to go to break in a moment, but I want to go to Andre Van Heerden, the director and producer, for a moment. What do you think is most important in the film Shadow Government, the masterpiece that you've produced?
I have to say right off the top that when I approached this topic and was talking to Grant, I was approaching it as a skeptic. I was looking at a lot of this stuff as a conspiracy theory. I didn't believe a lot of it was true. I thought there was nuggets of truth maybe buried within it. But as I started doing the research and working with Grant and looking at his book and started interviewing the various people, and you mentioned some, Dr. Catherine Albrecht, Daniel Estulin, Richard Griffin, Edward G. Griffin, the information that was coming out and the evidence, the support evidence for all this, documentation for all this, made it, implicitly clear that this was true. And
yeah, this is an open conspiracy. That's what's so frustrating is they're announcing world government on the nightly news, and then next they cut to the Southern Poverty Law Center saying these Tea Party people are dangerous, they're delusional, they believe in a global government.
And what you just said is the most striking thing about the documentary is that if you don't believe in it, suddenly you look at the headlines of your newspaper, and exactly what the documentary is talking about is right there. It's all right in front of you. And I think people are really getting the sense that it is there. Even if they think it's a conspiracy theory, they can look in the world around them and say, yeah, you know what, I know I'm being tracked. Yes, I know all my financial transactions are being tracked and monitored. I know this is all happening, and that's what makes it so scary and so true.
And then you look at the research of the terror attacks in the U.S. and other countries, and you find out the NSA, every time, bare minimum, knew exactly what was happening and let it take place, like the case of the underwear bomber. Again, this surveillance cuts two ways. We'll be right back with the makers of the film Shadow Government, available at Infowars.com, discounted right now. Jeffery is our guest. He's the writer of the book Shadow Government, made into the documentary film by Andre Van Heerden. Both of them are with us. Again, the film covers so much and consciously gets people to realize how everything we're doing is being tracked and traced. Continue breaking down other key parts of the film that people need to be made aware of. Mr. Jeffery.
Well, one of the aspects that makes shadow government a reality is that not only do you have this very deeply held agenda by these globalist groups, which, by the way, as an example, the Bilderberger group, during the 2008 election, back last summer, a year and a half ago, they invited both Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama to their secret meeting in Virginia, just north of Washington. And knowing that one of them, within 7 months, would be taking their inauguration as President of the United States, taking an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, domestic and foreign. And yet they were invited to attend a secret meeting, which they don't talk about. Part of the rules of the Bilderberger and the other two groups are what's called Chatham House rules, which mean that no one who goes there by invitation only is allowed to quote anything that is said or identify who said it. And they were invited to go to this secret meeting, and the planners of that meeting definitely want to bring America down in both its economy, its military, and politically.
And they publicly say that now. And they publicly say that. And China is the new model where they give tax incentives and everything else to move all our industry over there. And we've got all the phony environmentalists calling for a global government run by the very banks that meet at Bilderberg Group meetings, saying that we will pay our taxes directly to them. From your research, Mr. Jeffery, there's no doubt, certainly in my mind, but I want to know from your research, that we are now entering the final phase of open world government.
Absolutely. And I found an interesting document that you might find interesting, Alex. This document was written by the Council of the Club of Rome, and it was published in 1993 in a booklet called The First Global Revolution. And in fact is on the Internet. Someone can look it up if they want. Here's a quote. It says, quote, "In searching for a common enemy against whom we can unite," meaning the globalist, "we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming and water shortages, famine, and the like, would fit the bill. In their totality and their interactions, these phenomena do constitute a common threat which must be confronted by everyone together. all these dangers are caused by human intervention in natural processes. And it's only through changed attitudes and behavior that they can be overcome. The real enemy then is humanity itself. Now that's chilling, because that means that back in 1993, the globalists identified man's natural love of Earth and the environment as a way to achieve their real goal, which is an incredible socialistic control of nations, companies, and individual activity, and to also achieve it on a global level and do it by stealth, appealing to something which they would emphasize and exaggerate so that people would be willing to take any type of restriction whatsoever and taxes to achieve saving of the planet. And this is the underlying real motive that I have found in the research that I have been doing that is pushing the exaggerated danger of global warming.
And they chose carbon dioxide, the life-giving gas, because that's what humans exhale. And now we have video from just 2 weeks ago of Bill Gates saying, here are humans. They put out carbon dioxide. We have to get rid of at least half of them. The UN in their document says 80%. Ted Turner, Prince Philip, Prince Charles, the head climatologist at NASA says the global taxes are meant to destroy our industrial economy. I mean, this is a very dangerous group who have control of the issuance of currency and credit, and they don't want a free market. They don't want us living well. They want us poor and under their control, and they proposed 3 months ago at Copenhagen a global one-child policy. And that's why shadow government is so important, because it shows we are under a global shadow government now coming out of the shadows through the G20, announcing that later this year or early next year, they are going to set up a global constitution of the banks, the private central banks, setting up a global government publicly, even above the UN, that we will pay our carbon taxes to. And it's here. And we have to warn people, and that's why the film Shadow Government is so important. We got a long segment coming up, so we won't have these interruptions. When we come back, I want to get the director and producer's take on what we're discussing, Andre Van Heerden. And, of course, we've got Grant Jeffery on the line with us, the writer of the book that this became a film, also the host of Shadow Government. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be awake out there. A lot of you more awake than I am. The point is, the public's now ready to be awakened, and films like Obama Deception, Fall of the Republic, and Shadow Government are the tools to get out to the people.